Hey there, I'm back to highlight another study from the Boston Lymphatic Symposium. I'm sure you thought I was never coming back. Sorry, life and work got in the way, but I wanted to highlight a talk by Dr. Paula Donahue. She is a doctor of physical therapy at Vanderbilt, and I found her talk really interesting. And some of the imaging that was done for her presentation or this study that originated at Vanderbilt was actually done when Dr. Rochelle Crescenzi was at Vanderbilt. She's now in the Salt Lab at UVA. Go Who's! But I wanted to just kind of point that out. The name of the talk by Paula was Multimodal Manual Therapy, Compression, Exercise, and Education Interventions for Women with Lipedema. What does that mean? There were some really interesting points to her talk, and I love data to give a good differentiation. And she talked specifically about the fluid accumulation that is seen secondary to other disease processes or treatments like cancer versus fluid accumulation with lipedema. When you have edema that is secondary to, say, cancer treatment, it is focal. When you have edema that is seen in lipedema on imaging, it is diffuse and extracellular, and it is seen at the perimuscular border, which means that it's surrounding the muscle. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And this isn't my wheelhouse, so I've got my notes here. And what she said is that the fluid in lipedema isn't just sitting at top. It's deeper in the tissue surrounding the muscles. This is called perimuscular edema. And three things happen when this is going on. The lymphatic system is sluggish, which we know. The tissue is inflamed. That sounds familiar. And there is fluid leaking out of the capillaries faster than it can be cleared, which is a fluid problem, yes, but it's also a flow problem, right? So where do we miss the mark in our treatment and management of ourselves when it comes to lipedema? How can we affect change when we have this lymphatic issue going on? There are things that we can do, and my mind obviously goes to nutrition first because that is my wheelhouse. One of the most important things we can do is stay hydrated enough that our urine is soft yellow. That's typically going to be about 1/2 your body weight up to 100 ounces. You can drink more than 100 ounces, but you don't have to. That's typically enough for most people, regardless of weight. In other words, depending on temperature as it gets hotter out. But that's an important thing, to turn around and look at your urine and make sure you're soft yellow. The reason that is so important, friends, is that it's going to keep the lymphatic fluid more thin and it won't become as viscous, which is where we run into issues with more tendency to become more fibrotic. The other thing is that the lymphatic system does not have a pump. We know that. We need to move our muscles. When we move our muscles, several things happen. We move the lymphatics, yes, but we also release myokines, which are signaling proteins. And all of these things work together. So as these researchers find out things that are so important, like the different types of edema here, we need to be sure that we are doing our part as patients and making sure we're getting in the hydration and trying to eat an anti-inflammatory diet to limit inflammation, because when we have more chronic inflammation, we slow lymphatic flow. And we already know that's a problem. So that is why I am such a champion of anti-inflammatory eating. Regardless of what you want to call it, we need to be eating a whole food diet. That's just the plain truth. Whether it's fair or not, that's the truth. So that's the talk I'm going to cover today. I hope you got some useful nuggets out of that. And I will put more in the caption, and I will see you when I do the next talk. Bye-bye.